Before we talk about Nobu, the villas, and the private jets, and the celebrity investors, you really have to understand what makes Barbuda so different. Unlike most of the Caribbean, Barbuda's land was never meant to be privately owned. For generations, literally hundreds of years, the land was here held in common. So that means a couple things. One, no one person can buy land. No one person can own a beach. And the island itself belongs to the collective of Barbudans. Honestly, this system really protected the island, or it's supposed to, and it kept Barbuda small, sustainable, and honestly untouched in a way that I hope that we continue to see going forward. Barbuda has been faced with a bunch of different storms, but everything changed in 2017 after Hurricane Irma.
Other supplies could be sent over. We also need to have some more satellite phones in Barbuda. We said it's an absolute devastation, and this is no hyperbole.
While the island was really recovering, uh, they were opening the door to private ownership, and Barbudans strongly opposed to this resolution made by the Labor Party. And now, in a place where no individual used to be able to own the land through certain documents, one man owns an entire stretch of beach. That man is Robert De Niro. Yes, the Nobu backed development. This is where the conversation kind of gets complicated because does he really own the land? Does he not own the land? But he does have a large amount of power and wealth. And ultimately, the question is who gets to control that land? And this is where the conversation gets a little bit deeper and a lot more complicated. Essentially, the new Nobu Barbuda villas that are open are being marketed as this ultra luxury, eco chic, exclusive, high level private villa, exclusive access on one of the smallest islands in the Caribbean. They're calling it an investment and they're also calling it development. But the real question is development for who? And look, with a project this expensive, you would expect a huge economic benefit for Barbudans, right? More jobs, more training, more opportunities, salaries that match the level of luxury being built on the island. But here's the truth. We still don't know if the developers will pay the government what they owe, employ Barbudans at a fair wage, and build real pathways to economic mobility. The term community development is always used. Shouldn't the people receive communal benefits? And I think that this is where the conversation, again, is going. And also, again, let me remind you, we are also talking about an island that has under 2,000 people on there. So environmentalists also have concerns. Barbuda is an ecological treasure. Pink sand beaches, endangered species, and one of the largest bird sanctuaries in the world. And this construction of this large scale of resorts on coastlines disrupts ecosystems, freshwater resources, not to mention the rising sea levels. Barbuda is a low-lying island. Like literally, the hurricane wiped everything out. Can luxury coexist with preservation, or is the island going to pay the price for someone else's profit? But let's take a look at the bigger picture here. This isn't just a story about villas, it's a story about a small island navigating global power. And it's about wealth being concentrated in places where locals historically had control. And it's about how development can honor culture, the environment, while still creating opportunities for those who call Barbuda home. Look, because at the end of the day, If the island was taken from communal hands and if profit does exist and Nobu was generating that profit, then jobs should be guaranteed. And if that environment is at risk, is development truly happening or is this extraction? But what does the law say? We have to start all the way back in 2007 with the establishment of the Barbuda Land Act that was passed and it is set into law. So, therefore, this is the one governing document that exists on the books that we should, in fact, honor. The act states that all people in Barbuda own the land collectively. Any citizen over 18 years old has the right to occupy residential land, graze animals, and use land for commercial purposes as long as projects are not considered major developments. Major developments in the Act are defined as anything that costs over $5.4 million and will affect the island in a major way through the economy, infrastructure, or environment. That is what the doctrine says. But let's also read another clause out of the doctrine. And it seems to me that the only thing that has been amended here is in section 4, it says, a person to whom an exclusive right of occupation has been granted by the council may, after 5 years of occupancy, apply for grant of lease. So if you are an occupier of Barbuda, meaning that if you are a citizen of Barbuda, after 5 years, you must apply for this grant of lease. Then it says here in section 2, the council may grant a lease under this provision for a maximum term of 99 years. And any term so granted may be subject to renewal. So anything after 99 years, the lease is in fact up. And therefore, you would have to do what? You would have to apply for renewal. So a few conclusions that I've came up to. 1, after 5 years of living on the island of Barbuda as a citizen, you are eligible to apply for grant of lease. 2nd, after you apply for grant of lease, you have a maximum of 99 years to occupy that space. At the moment, Barbudans are arguing that the government is taking away their birthright to land ownership. And at this point, there are a lot of conversations about how to upkeep Barbuda after a natural disaster. And so at this moment, people in Barbuda are faced with a lot of different challenges. Not everyone has access and the ability to recover from these natural disasters. So therefore, it is much harder to pick back up and to rebuild when you are competing with these top companies or these top establishments, I would say, like Nobu, who in fact have the right to do what? Employ whoever they want. And that could mean a few things. They could what? Hire locals, they can hire expats, they can hire Barbudans. That means that it is free game for about anyone at this point to occupy land in Barbuda. So this is why it's an issue. And with all of these changes happening, with all of these moving pieces and parts going on, I just don't want to see our island end up like Jamaica, where obviously now there are a lot of restrictions against the general public. Signs are being put up and rules and regulations may be enforced if Nobu in fact tells the general public that they're not able to be in that space or occupy that space unless they are doing what? They are spending money. So there are just a lot of things to think about when we are thinking about this situation and how it's affecting our people. But On the other side, I kind of want to gear the conversation towards introducing Trevor Walker and who he is, and what his stance is in this movement. And he's a part of the BPM. And essentially, quote from Parliament, after this bill removing the communal land ownership has passed, back in 2016, Walker quoted, "When the government change, if not, we will reverse these things," meaning that he is actively working to try to, light fire to reverse these things, because these are things that he does not want to continue on the island.
That burn you? That burn you? I'm from Barbuda too.
There were a few protests that definitely occurred. They were fairly small, but I do believe that using your voice in numbers definitely helps bring awareness to issues. But in fact, he is all right. This is our land, and you want to fire that weapon? Go ahead, take your best shot. Quote. That is exactly what he said. And I think here he's really just trying to explain to Barbudans to fight, to take back what's theirs, and to kind of just anchor in what's theirs rightfully so. And honestly, I can, commend his bravery for fighting for Barbudans, because it's definitely a tough cookie on both sides. It's a situation where Barbuda is struggling to generate revenue, but then on the other side, they don't want Barbuda to change in a way for the worse, that locals in Barbuda don't necessarily recognize the place that they call home. From a government and an investor perspective, development, jobs, new housing opportunities are in fact happening, but they are happening on the island of Antigua. And like I said, to put this into perspective, Antigua and Barbuda are two separate islands with two separate ways of life. And honestly, what we're dealing with here is Barbuda's inability to keep up with the island of Antigua for good reasons. But at the end of the day, everyone has a part to play in this scenario. In the end, this is a fight for communal ownership, communal heritage versus privatization, nature versus luxury, people versus profit. This issue is definitely not unique, and it mirrors broader global development struggles where small marginalized communities often face displacement in the name of development. And honestly, I really want to encourage you all to think critically when you see luxury paradise promos, and kind of ask yourself, at what cost? If you've ever been to Barbuda, or if you know island life, if you believe in preservation of heritage and environment, please speak up. Share this video, and also share your stories below, because honestly, I like to hear them all. I think that Barbuda has a deep history, and it just warms my heart to see that You know, there are people who are here on, you know, both sides trying to fix issues, but it just warms my heart to see that we have people who are fighting for the land of Barbuda